So on each computer, there's this program installed called Quixel Bridge. It's a collection of like materials and objects. They're all realistic, and the photogrammetry has done for them. Like if I go to 3D plants and then like go for grass, I've got plenty of nice grass here. So for their movie, I think the grass that they're looking for is something like this. You can download them. So let's say I download this. Not 4K. I usually download them like 2K because that's enough. So to use this program, you need an Epic account. So like make an Epic account and log in using your Epic account. To send the stuff into Houdini, you have to go to edit export settings, and here you see that I already have installed Houdini plugin. So see, like I'm gonna send this into Maya, so I make a Maya plugin install. So the same process is for Houdini. So like you download the plugin, it downloads it, and you say install the plugin. I installed it, and if I open Maya, so Maya is loading. So it gives me this like, so once Maya wants to load, it gives me this kind of warning. You just say allow because this is mega scan library. So we want that. So it's installed on Maya. And let Maya load. Okay, let's start a new scene. And here, you see this mega scan is added as one of, one of the elements to the, like one of the shelves. So it's here, you see that? So I can click on it, and if you load material from Megascan, you have to check this material. It has only this option. So like, and it converts the material to your renderer. So like at the moment, Arnold is selected, so it converts my shaders to Arnold shader. So if I send, so let's say you want some flowers for you guys who creating tree. So if you want like flowers or logs on your tree creatures or like leaves, you can just simply send it. So you go to the edit export settings, set the software you want to export to, and here when you say export, you see that it sends it to Maya, and so I should see it happening, something happening in Maya, and voila, I got the grass there. And it comes with a very nice texture actually, which is very usable. So you see all of this grass, and they're separate. Actually, they're different grasses. You can let's say mash them using mash, and like if I create a mesh network with these grasses, and I say that you can distribute it as a grid. Distribute not linear but as a grid, and it would be like a very wide grid, 20 by 20 by 20, maybe wider. And it grabbed only one of them. So like when you add a ID, like where is that? Here you can add an ID, and the ID count is 17. Now you see that all 17 of them are used, and you can distribute them like, or you can add randomization and so on and so forth. So you see that like you quickly achieve a very nice object from here. For example, for your tree, like you can have tree shrubs or where is
Didn't you keep that fresh?
like
Without shake.
I saw some really cool grounding covers. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it yellow.
3D assets, nature,
Let me just put the text first and then
tree. Yeah, here. So like for your project, you can like use this like, let's say, analyze the object that you have. Like let's say for pieces of that object. So let's say this tree branch, 2D text, 2K texture is fine. I download it. So if you download it, where this one goes, if you remember, I asked you to make, oh guys, everyone, this is very important. I asked you to make a project on this folder, render farm folder, and save. So this is like a network drive. It's accessible by everybody. So you all have access to it. I see nobody has made any project here. So keep your files here. It's accessible by all of you. Like, so now I don't want you to, when I talk to you, like say, oh, this person has not come, and the files are on their hard drive. So like have a backup of your projects here in the hard drive. So let's say if I have a project here, and if I want my downloads go there, I set to the download settings. Not download settings, some other, like settings here. I say library path. I point to that R drive. And here you see that I can make a folder, say Megascan library. And I select this folder as my library. So from now on, whatever I download goes to that shared library. So if I move my computer, and if I log into my Breach, I still like don't need to re-download it every time. So it's shared. So you see that this one has downloaded, and I export it to Maya. So it's here. Control-1 to isolate it. And you see it's not, when I turn on the textures, the texture is not loaded, or I can't see it. The texture is not loaded for some reason. But you know, it gives you some really good objects to start with for your objects. The same way I can send these. So if I look at my local is the things you already downloaded. So I downloaded some 3D assets here and 3D plants. So I'm going to send this into Houdini this time. So instead, in the export settings, I say send them to Houdini. You can send them to Blender or Marmoset or anywhere else you want. Export. So once I installed the plugin for Houdini, you see this Megascan menu is added here on top. And this is the important thing that you have to consider. When you go to the Megascan menu and then you click on the plugin settings, you can load the plugin as either like Mantra, or if you install Redshift, because you guys gonna end up like rendering your project with Redshift. You don't want the pain of rendering it with Arnold. Redshift is way faster, way easier to do. So you install Redshift on Maya and on Houdini. So here you say that convert my materials to Redshift. For now, let's leave it as mantra, which is the default shader by Houdini. So I export it to Houdini. Now this one comes to Houdini. I have to wait until it reloads. Okay, so I've got all these different grass types. Let me just change the background to, if you press D on keyboard, you can change the backgrounds on different things. So I just grab one of them, maybe. So let me just press Control L or L here. Press L on keyboard for layout. Control B for full screen of the layout. I can turn all of this off and turn on like one by one and see which one I may want. So let's say I grab this one. So this is LOD7. So I get inside. So it's basically what you get is a bunch of grass and like a material that has been applied to it. So it's a very good starting point, right? It is like, you know, be mindful of the units. Houdini units are 1 to 1, right? So like 1, when it says 0 to 1 here, it means it's 1 meter length. So like I don't want this to be 1 meter, I want it to be smaller. So I add a transform node here, make it like 1/10 smaller. So this is like sort of, oh, it's too tiny now. Maybe, yeah. Because once I want to scatter it, I want it to be like a 1 meter block of the content. So I add a grid here. It's a 10 by 10 grid. If you look at it, it's a 10 meter by 10 meter grid. Let's make it 1 by 1 grid. And it has 10 rows and 10 kind of 10 rows and 10 columns. So like I just add a mountain to make it a little bit jagged. So you can play around with these attributes. I don't want it to be like, yeah, something like this. Not too much. Let's lower down amplitude. Yeah, something like this is a good starting point. So then I say copy to points. So like this is my object and this is my points. So like then you see that grass is copied everywhere, but it's a very like kind of a, it looks like a farm, which is like also like it has been rotated, which I don't want. I for some reason I get like some, because my grass is like this, but this one like rotated them. So like these ones has some points. So like if you realize it has put a grass on one of each points here. But I do something smarter. I add a node called scatter. And this node, scatter, if you see, it scatters some randomized points everywhere, like 1,000 points. But I don't want 1,000, maybe I want 20. And if I go to copy to points, you see like, oh, this is a better distribution of the points. So maybe not 20, maybe 30. Yeah. And then 35.
Yeah.
And then there's some you can add some density scale. No, we don't want density scale.
Okay, yeah.
We
so
want.
still-
So I want them to be like not all like so draft out like this. So this is the thing about Houdini. If you remember, I told you it's all about managing your data. So one point in the space, like a dot in the space, can carry a lot of information. So for many of you,
Yes.
for many of you, like this dot can only be in a place, right? Like x and y, x, y, and z. There's a dot here, but you can say all dots or points. You carry some more information, like scale. Like it preserves some. So here, this is what I'm gonna do now. So you might confuse what I'm doing. So we've got a bunch of dots here, right? I just add attribute. You see, I add one attribute create, and I call it p-scale. So p-scale is an attribute like point scale. So here, if I middle click on these scatter points, you see these points have like only p, which means position, which is x, y, z, right? So it only has three floating attributes. It actually says 3 floats. But then when I add p-scale, it has p and p-scale. So these points are carrying some scale information, right? So now I can randomize those attributes. So randomize, attribute randomize. What attribute you want to randomize? P-scale. So now you've got a bunch of points that have scales, but they have variety of randomizations. But this is like from 0 to 1, but I make it like from 6 point to minimum value to maximum value of 1.3. So that's a better randomization. So that's my grass layer, right? So as that group asked. So, but I have a dirt layer as well. So I can start making using of the same kind of the same grid that I created here, and poly extrude them. So here is the that plant grid that we had. If I click here, I can extrude it maybe up. Okay. How much I have? So the grass needs to be actually. I should extrude it down, but then I say output back. But my normals have been reversed. That's why they're black. So you can add a normal one and say reverse normals. Oh, we'll see. Let me just merge them together. Merge. I've got my plant. I've got my my ground as well, and maybe more of. And then insert some, and also, oops, what of them? And also maybe 3 divisions. Yeah. So now the question is, like, can I, if I want to shatter all of this, right? If I want to shatter all of this, I can't shatter the grass. So you want to like shatter the ground pieces while the grass is on top. So how to solve this? So what I do, if you mind, I just go here. I like to close this, and I'll have this open, and whatever I want, all the parameters I want, I press P to load them. So what I do is, let's get rid of this extrusion for now. Let's poly extrude here, extrude it up. So that's going to be our ground. And then here I would say, so it has a front group, right? Like, which is, it has an empty back. So it has a front and it has a back. I say that export extrude front group. So like what's the problem? What I'm doing? The problem is I want this grass. So let me just not export the groups, and let's add the grass here. Let's see what happens. You see grass everywhere, like inside, in the back, in the front, here. But what I want is that the grass to be on top, the front group. So one way of working in Houdini, you guys realize we make groups, like groups of like one object that you have. You don't want to use, sometimes you don't want to use the entirety of the object. You want to use some surfaces of it. So that's why we make groups and say that use this group. So here I say export front group, right? And here I say, okay, now I'm going to use, like when I scatter points, I'm going to scatter not everywhere, but I'm going to scatter them on that group that I just created. It's called extrude front. I add it here, and you see that like the points are scattered are just on top. Here are the points are here. What has happened? What's happening? Okay, so here you see that like the grass is growing just on top of that. So I have this extruded object. I have the grass on the right place. Actually, I want some divisions on here side. So this extruded piece of ground like has underneath as well. This is like the time that you can crash it. So RBD material fracture, you can fracture it separately in a separate lane. So you see that it just got into pieces. What you need is an exploded view, but you need RBD exploded view. Just drop it here. So these are like the pieces of the ground that's gonna be, maybe it's too much for me here. I just make like, let's say 3 here, and also in the second layer also 3. And so also need a bit of like detail on the side. So I add no chipping. So again, see like these concepts that I talked to you about last week, like chipping. Chipping is like when the wall breaks, and then there's this tiny little pieces. But when you have this dirt, that's usually like big chunks. You don't see like too much of little chipping, like wood breaking or like glass breaking. So but we need detail. So I add some edge detail. Okay, I have some edge detail. So I just want to see if I have my So you see that I still have my extrude front layer. So I just want to test it out. So I add a color node here just to see the flow of my information. So and I select that group which is called extrude front and make it red. So you see that I still have my layers there, which is wonderful. So what I do, I use, like now here, if I feed this into my scatter point, then I get my, well, of course not color, so like let me just bypass that. I get my grass added on those points. For some reason, this grass like rotate. I add a transform node here before, so like see if I can rotate them on X direction 90-degree. Yeah, and I call this like weird transformation, or which I have no idea what it is, but like I just made a temporary fix for it. So now if I merge not here, but if I merge the outcome of here and there, I have ground shattering with the grass on top of it. So now you can simulate this, like simulate it the way you like. So let's review our tree. Here is your grass. Let's put them in a group. Oh, not this one, this one. Here is your grass. Here is your extruded, like here is your ground. Here is grass scattering. Grass scattering. And here is your fracture, or breaking it apart, right? So your simulation comes here, like where the color is, you can have a simulation there. So it's basically, we pre-fractured it, we put it, like divided into pieces. Now if the simulation happens, these pieces like throw away, but yet they have grass on top of it. I can do it for you if you like, but that would take some time from others. But this is up to here, and let me see.